Ryan Sterling built one of the largest hotel empires in the country before turning 40. Luxury resorts carrying the Sterling name stretched across coastlines, major cities, and international destinations. Financial magazines regularly ranked him among the country's wealthiest businessmen. 5 years earlier, Ryan buried his wife after a long battle with illness. Since then, his world revolved around his son. Every major decision Ryan made, he always put his boy first. Unfortunately, money couldn't protect someone from everything. The trouble began during a holiday weekend at Sterling Bay Resort. The property sat along a beautiful stretch of coastline and attracted thousands of guests every month. Families filled the restaurants. Children crowded the swimming areas. Tourists occupied nearly every room. Ryan had originally planned to spend only a few hours at the resort. A meeting was scheduled because new construction projects required approval. Business never seemed to stop. His son Noah hated that. The 6-year-old spent most of the morning begging his father to take a break. Ryan finally agreed. The two spent the afternoon walking through the resort grounds, visiting shops, and exploring the beachfront. For several hours. But Ryan had to attend a meeting. That afternoon, the weather changed. Dark clouds formed over the water. Strong winds rolled toward the coast. Resort staff immediately began preparing for the incoming storm. Guests were advised to move indoors. Activities were canceled. Beach access was restricted.
Everyone get inside right now!
Hurry up, it's pouring!
The storm arrived faster than expected. Heavy rain swept across the shoreline while staff members guided guests towards safer areas. The situation was managed. Until someone noticed Noah was missing. At first, nobody panicked, because children wandered constantly. They began to search around the resort but couldn't find him. Security went through all the buildings, but Noah was nowhere to be found. Ryan was notified, and he joined the search team. He was so scared he didn't want to lose the one person who kept him going. The storm kept growing worse. The wind became stronger. And Noah was still nowhere to be found. At the far end of the resort, beyond the main beach area, waves struck strongly against a rocky section of shoreline. Few guests ever visited that part of the property because the terrain was dangerous. The weather that day made it worse. The young woman, Evelyn Smith, had been leaving work when she noticed movement near the rocks. At first, she assumed it was debris blown by the wind. Then she saw a child. Noah stood trapped between several large rocks while fierce waves rolled around him. One wrong step could pull him directly into the ocean. The sight froze her for a second. Then she ran towards him. It was dangerous, but she couldn't let the little boy drown. Sharp rocks cut through her shoes. The wind pushed against her with every stride she made. Evelyn reached him just as another wave broke against the shoreline. The impact nearly knocked both of them down. Noah was terrified and crying. Evelyn grabbed him and pulled him closer. Then she searched for a safe path back. The problem was that the storm had already flooded much of the area. Every route looked dangerous. The only option was moving forward. Meanwhile, Ryan's panic was becoming visible. Resort security had searched nearly every section of the property. No sign of Noah. Local authorities were notified. Additional search teams arrived. The situation was quickly escalating. Ryan ignored phone calls and meetings. Finding his son was all that mattered. One of the security managers suddenly received a radio transmission. A woman had been spotted near the northern shoreline carrying a child. The message barely finished before Ryan started running. Several employees chased after him. Then he sighted a woman emerging through the storm with Noah in her arms. Ryan got them first. The moment Noah touched the ground, he pulled his son into a tight embrace. Noah buried his face against his father's shoulder. The relief nearly brought Ryan to his knees. Only after confirming Noah was safe did he finally look toward the woman who had saved him. Evelyn looked exhausted. Her wet hair stuck to her face. Her hands were scraped and bleeding. A deep cut marked one side of her arm. Ryan realized that she had risked her life for a child she didn't know. Most people wouldn't take that risk Evelyn risked. Before Ryan could properly thank her, medical personnel arrived. The attention immediately shifted toward Noah and Evelyn. Both were escorted toward the resort clinic. News of the rescue spread throughout the resort before morning. Local media picked up the story. Several newspapers praised the unidentified woman who had rescued the billionaire's son during the storm. Evelyn hated every second of the attention. She certainly wasn't interested in becoming part of a news story. After receiving treatment, she quietly returned to work. The following afternoon, Ryan requested a meeting. Evelyn reluctantly agreed. The meeting took place inside a private office overlooking the ocean. Ryan came carrying a small box with a check. Evelyn refused it. Ryan insisted, but she didn't oblige. The discussion continued for nearly 20 minutes. Eventually, Ryan stopped trying. He was genuinely surprised. When the meeting ended, neither saw anyone watching from outside the office. A man stood near the parking area overlooking the building. His attention remained fixed on Evelyn. The man watched her leave, then pulled out a phone. A brief conversation followed. Less than 30 seconds. When the call ended, he got into his vehicle and drove away. Inside the resort, Evelyn continued her day. The days following the rescue. Ryan found himself thinking about Evelyn far more than he expected. Not because she saved his son. Many people had helped him throughout his life. What stayed with him was how quickly she walked away afterward. Most people would have wanted something, but she didn't. That alone made her difficult to forget. Several days later, Ryan returned to Sterling Bay Resort for another meeting. Noah came with him. The boy spent most of the drive talking about Evelyn. According to Noah, she was the bravest person in the world. Ryan heard the story at least 10 times before they arrived. The moment they reached the resort, Noah began searching for her. An hour later, he found her. Evelyn was helping organize supplies for an upcoming event when Noah came up beside her carrying a drawing. The paper showed 3 stick figures standing near the ocean. One represented Noah. One represented Evelyn. The third represented a very tall version of Ryan. Evelyn laughed as Noah proudly explained every detail. The picture eventually found its way onto her desk. Noah seemed very pleased with himself. Over the next several weeks, Ryan visited the resort more frequently than necessary. At least that was what his executive team believed. Several meetings could have happened elsewhere. Several inspections could have been delegated. Ryan handled them personally. The reason became increasingly obvious. Every time he visits, he tries to have a conversation with Evelyn. Yet Ryan found himself looking forward to them. This bothered him so much because the last thing he wanted was another relationship. 5 years earlier, losing his wife changed his world. He focused on Noah, on work and his responsibilities. That approach worked so far until Evelyn came into the picture. While Ryan's attention remained focused on the future, someone else was focused on the past. The man who watched Evelyn after the storm continued to monitor her movements and take pictures. The information eventually reached a large house outside the city. A woman remained seated alone inside a private study reviewing the photographs. Her look darkened as she looked through every image of Evelyn entering the resort, leaving work, speaking with Ryan, and spending time with Noah. The woman closed the folder. 3 weeks later, on a Tuesday morning, Evelyn arrived at work expecting another ordinary day. Instead, security officers were waiting. Heads of departments were there. A large amount of money had disappeared from a charitable fund managed through the resort. Records linked the missing funds directly to her employee account. The accusation made no sense. Evelyn had never even handled the account. Yet the evidence appeared convincing. There were bank transfers, system access records, approval signatures. Everything pointed toward her. The situation heightened quickly. By noon, she was suspended. By evening, authorities were involved. The story traveled like wildfire. One day she was a respected employee. The next day she was being treated like a criminal. Ryan learned about the accusations during a meeting. The moment he heard Evelyn's name, he requested to see every report connected to the case. Several executives assumed he was simply protecting someone who saved his son. After going through the reports, he sensed something fishy. The reports looked so perfect, as if someone were pointing fingers. As a businessman for years, he knew forgery when he saw one. That evening, Ryan drove to Evelyn's apartment. The building was in an older neighborhood several miles from the city center. Nothing about it suggested luxury or wealth. The apartment reflected exactly what Evelyn possessed and told him about herself. He knocked at the door. Evelyn opened it, looking exhausted, with dark circles below her eyes. Ryan understood that being accused of theft was one thing. Being accused publicly was an entirely different matter. Evelyn told him that she had already been questioned twice and that her accounts had been reviewed. Everything still pointed to her, and she was wrongly accused. Ryan believed her because, as he knew her over time, she wasn't someone who behaved in despicable ways. Over the following days, Ryan secretly started his own investigation. The resort's internal team continued building a case against Evelyn. Ryan focused on finding loopholes in it. The deeper he looked, the more problems he found. Several access records didn't match employee schedules. CCTV footage wasn't aligning. Transaction timestamps seemed altered. The challenge now was proving it. The funds had been moved through several accounts before returning to their original location. The transfers created the appearance of theft without producing actual financial losses. The real thieves steal money, but someone else had created a trap to destroy Evelyn. By the end of the week, Ryan got to understand that accusations weren't about money. They were about Evelyn. Someone wants to ruin her reputation. Ryan's private investigation continued behind the scenes while the official investigation moved in the opposite direction. Every day delivered new accusations against Evelyn. Online articles described her as the employee who stole money from a charitable fund. Social media made things worse. People who knew nothing about her suddenly had strong opinions. The experience was brutal. Evelyn stopped reading the articles after the first week. There was no point. All headlines appeared resolved to paint her as a criminal. Life became increasingly difficult. She couldn't get a new job because her image had a dent now. Former co-workers stopped calling. Friends quietly distanced themselves. The isolation hurt her more than the accusations. As the probe advanced, Ryan grew frustrated. Unfortunately, he had no proof yet that she was innocent. As his investigators kept reviewing the records, they connected them to the charity fund. They discovered a fraudulent transaction originated from an administrator account belonging to someone inside senior management. The access credentials linked to Evelyn appeared much later. Whoever accused her inserted her information after the transfers were already completed. After days of deeper digging, they found out the administrator account belonged to a female named Victoria Mercer. Victoria occupied a powerful position inside the Sterling Foundation. For nearly 7 years, she managed several charitable initiatives and maintained access to sensitive financial systems. Her record appeared flawless. At first glance, she looked like the last person anyone would suspect. The deeper investigators dug, the more they uncovered. Several financial approvals connected to the fraud passed through Victoria's office. Multiple security overrides were triggered by her credentials. Most importantly, she appeared repeatedly in areas of the investigation that should have been unrelated. As Ryan investigators dug further, they realized Victoria wasn't acting alone. Financial records revealed a series of unexplained payments entering accounts connected to her younger brother. The amounts were substantial. Madison was intelligent and successful, but there had never been any real connection between them. Apparently, that detail hadn't stopped other people from making plans. It is now clear that Victoria and Charles expected Ryan to eventually marry Madison. They want to use the marriage to strengthen their business ties and protect their personal interests. Then Evelyn appeared. They saw that Noah and Ryan were getting too close to her, so they decided to frame her. They saw her as a threat to their plan and wanted her out of the way so she wouldn't complicate things. Finding out the truth made Ryan furious because they turned someone's life upside down just because she got close to him. It broke his heart because his late wife's father was involved. The following morning, Ryan went to see Charles again with his evidence. This time, there was no room for denial. Charles attempted to justify his actions. According to him, everything had been done for Noah and the family's future. Ryan couldn't believe a single word because nothing about those messages involved Noah. To him, he saw people who seek power and want to be in control of everything. News traveled fast, and Victoria Mercer became the primary suspect. The authorities were issued a search warrant. Her files, records, computers, and communications archives were seized. Evidence linking Victoria to several fabricated reports, false witness statements, and manipulated financial records was uncovered. The case against her became stronger every day. Then another discovery surfaced. Victoria had been monitoring Evelyn long before the fraud accusations appeared. The behavior went far past professional interest. It verged on obsession. Evelyn was informed about the new discovery during a meeting with Ryan's legal team. For several moments, she struggled to process everything. The amount of effort involved felt unbelievable. She had never met Victoria. Yet someone spent months trying to destroy her life, and she wondered why. This new discovery even made her more worried. Meanwhile, Noah stayed blissfully unaware of most of the drama. The 6-year-old focused on his school, friends, and soccer practice. He also loved spending time with Evelyn whenever possible. The relationship between them continued growing naturally. Evelyn genuinely cared about him. The connection became obvious to everyone around them, especially Ryan. Watching the two together often reminded him of what had been missing from his life. 4 years, work occupied nearly every other aspect of his life aside from fatherhood. Along the way, he forgot what happiness looked like. Now Evelyn has brought some of that back without even trying. Several weeks later, the authorities finally made an arrest. Victoria Mercer was taken into custody. Victoria decided to cooperate. She claims to have a lot of evidence against people of higher positions and demanded maximum security. Victoria requested a private meeting with Ryan. He agreed because he was curious to know what's going on. During the meeting, Victoria revealed that the entire scheme started because of Madison Clark. Charles just came along the line. The whole scheme initially had nothing to do with business. According to Victoria, Madison had been obsessed with Ryan for years. Long before Evelyn came into the picture, the obsession got worse over time. Victoria initially believed she was helping a friend. By the time she realized how far things had gone, backing out became difficult. Ryan couldn't believe her until Victoria presented evidence of their conversations and documents they had gathered. From what Victoria knows about Madison, she won't finish till she gets what she wants. Ryan left the meeting more confused than before. For months, he thought he had been fighting financial fraud, Charles, and manipulation, but this new discovery of obsession shocked him to the core. According to Victoria, Madison Clark spent years convincing herself that she would eventually become part of Ryan's life. The problem was that Ryan never shared those expectations. He treated Madison with respect and nothing more. Years passed without the relationship she imagined ever materializing. Then Evelyn came into the picture. Messages dating back several years revealed Madison's growing fixation on Ryan. She had always tracked Ryan's relationships, monitored his schedule, and after Noah's rescue, she saw Evelyn as a threat that needed to disappear before Ryan became attached to her. As authorities investigated further, they found transactions and records connecting Victoria and Madison. Meanwhile, Evelyn still struggles to move on, even though her name has been cleared. These past months had taken a toll on her. One evening, she sat alone near the lake behind Ryan's house, watching the sun disappear behind the trees. Enjoying her peace and quiet, then Ryan joined her, and they sat quietly, just enjoying the atmosphere. The months that followed, Ryan kept trying to convince himself to ignore how he felt and focus on work. But this wasn't working. The universe kept dragging them closer. He saw the way she treated his son and how much his son enjoyed her company. That alone made him admire her the more. His feelings for her became impossible to dismiss, and Noah noticed this too. That Saturday afternoon, while helping Evelyn bake cookies, Noah asked when she would marry his father. The tray she was carrying almost fell off her hands, because that question took her by surprise. Evelyn laughed. Then she attempted to change the subject. Noah wasn't interested in changing subjects. The conversation continued until Ryan walked into the kitchen and immediately realized something unusual had happened. The sight of both of them avoiding eye contact told him everything. While life at the lake house continued moving forward, authorities were still doing their jobs, and Madison Clark was finally arrested. For years, Madison occupied a respected position within elite social circles. Watching her being escorted into custody shocked many people. 3 days after the arrest, someone broke into one of Madison's private properties. Several files and CCTV footage were erased. This alerted the authorities to the fact that someone was tampering with evidence. Now it was clear that Madison had an accomplice in higher places that didn't want to be found. Federal authorities received information directing them toward a private trust managed by Madison's family. The trust appeared legitimate, but its accounting records didn't add up. Millions of dollars moved through accounts connected to shell companies. Several transactions matched payments identified during the investigation. One name kept appearing in these transactions: Ethan Clark, Madison's older brother. Until that moment, Ethan remained completely outside the case. During the investigation, it was discovered that Ethan wasn't protecting his sister. He was protecting himself. Many of the fraudulent transactions originated through companies he was in charge of. The revelations led to another wave of arrests. Financial crimes investigators took over the case. Former associates agreed to cooperate. The walls finally began closing around everyone involved. For Evelyn, the developments made her feel safer and at peace. One of Ethan's associates agreed to testify to how the fabricated document and framed Evelyn. Madison Clark spent years believing she would eventually become part of Ryan's life. And now that belief seems to be falling apart right in front of her. People who once protected her were cooperating with authorities. Those who weren't kept their distance so as not to get involved. The world she spent years controlling was disappearing. She was becoming desperate. On the other hand, Mr. Clark faced multiple criminal charges. Victoria continued to cooperate with authorities to obtain a reduced judgment. Additional evidence appeared almost daily. Ryan, on the other hand, was thinking about Evelyn. He couldn't pretend to have fallen in love with her. Everyone around them, even at work, noticed how much they had fallen for each other. But only some of them were trying to fight their feelings. One night, Ryan invited Evelyn and Noah to a simple event at a small lakeside festival near the property, where local families gathered along the waterfront. Food vendors lined the walking paths. Children ran between booths while live music played in the distance. The simplicity made it enjoyable. Noah spent most of the event dragging Ryan and Evelyn from one activity to another. At the end of the day, Ryan began to imagine the three of them as a family. Even Evelyn sensed the same way. Meanwhile, Madison was making new plans. The investigation had stripped away nearly every option available to her. A few days later, she disappeared. Her attorneys claimed she needed time away from public attention, but the timing raised the police's suspicions. A vehicle connected to Madison had been spotted near one of the Sterling Foundation's rural properties. The location made Ryan worried because Evelyn was scheduled to attend an event there the following day. He increased security there and changed her travel routes in case Madison knew the initial details. The event continued as planned. Guests arrived. Volunteers prepared activities. The morning passed without incident. Then, shortly after launch, Evelyn disappeared. Her calls went unanswered. CCTV footage revealed a woman matching Madison's description appeared there shortly before Evelyn vanished. Ryan received the news while attending a separate meeting. Within minutes, he was in a vehicle heading there. The drive appeared endless. Each possible scenario played through his mind, and none of them were good. Authorities located Madison's vehicle hours later, near an isolated cabin deep within a wooded area. Police moved in carefully, because nobody knew whether Madison was alone or what state of mind she was in. Ryan arrived shortly afterward. He hated every second of waiting. Inside the cabin, Madison finally told Evelyn how much she had loved Ryan and how she killed his late wife. Yet Ryan refused to love her, and now Evelyn wants to take him away from her. She pointed her pistol towards Evelyn, then the authorities surrounded her, and she surrendered. As they set Evelyn free and she ran out, she saw Ryan, and both ran towards each other and hugged passionately. Madison faced additional charges. The remaining members of the scheme entered plea agreements. Within weeks, the legal battle that consumed so much of their lives was finally ending. Evelyn was happy to get her life back. Even better. Weeks later, Ryan invited Evelyn to dinner. He finally revealed his feelings to her, how much he had fallen in love with her. She blushed because she felt the same way. As the evening ended, they left dinner so excited that both went home thinking of the other and blushing so hard. Meanwhile, Noah enjoyed having his family together and making sure Ryan and Evelyn spent enough time together. One afternoon, while helping Ryan assemble a model airplane, Noah asked his daddy to marry Evelyn. Ryan nearly dropped the instruction manual. When Ryan asked why, Noah looked genuinely confused and said they already acted married. The only thing missing was the wedding. Evelyn accepted a leadership position within the Sterling Foundation. After everything that happened, some expected her to leave completely. As the first anniversary of Noah's rescue approached, Sterling Bay Resort prepared a special event. The celebration honored employees, emergency personnel, and local volunteers who assisted during the storm. Lots of people attended. Nobody would have guessed how much had changed during the previous year. Ryan spent most of the afternoon greeting guests. Evelyn helped coordinate activities, then Ryan disappeared. For nearly 20 minutes, nobody could find him. Then an announcement was made, and guests were asked to gather near the shoreline. Out of curiosity, they gathered quickly. Evelyn arrived last. The sight waiting for her stopped her completely. Near the exact location where she found Noah during the storm stood a little platform overlooking the ocean. Ryan was standing there. Noah stood next to him, grinning from ear to ear. The moment Evelyn saw the expression on Noah's face, she understood what was happening. The boy had clearly known about this for weeks. Ryan moved forward. For a man comfortable speaking before investors, executives, and thousands of employees, he suddenly looked nervous. The reaction made Evelyn smile. Then Ryan got down on one knee and asked her to marry him. She was so excited and screamed yes. The wedding took place 6 months later. Unlike most billionaire weddings, the ceremony stayed surprisingly small. Only family and close friends, and people who genuinely mattered. The location was at the same lake where Ryan and Evelyn spent so much time together. Noah proudly served as the ring bearer. The little boy was so excited to have a new mom. As the ceremony ended, Ryan found himself thinking about how unlikely everything seemed. Years later, guests visiting Sterling Bay Resort often noticed a small plaque near the northern shoreline. The location marked the place where Ms. Carter saved a frightened 6-year-old boy during a storm. Evelyn and Ryan had a beautiful marriage that gave Noah a younger sister. They lived happily